This is based on a new translation, and I brought a bunch of books here. I think this is the only one left. Somehow they're all gone before the seminar, so I grabbed this one, so at least I could show you. So this volume 1 has the original 12 verses plus 12 oil paintings that we had commissioned especially for this work. These are all by the Italian artist Kananjana. And then volume 2, this has the commentary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, has Bhaktivinoda's songs on Mana-shiksha, which were never published before. And it also has commentary of Jayadvaita Swami, Shivaram Maharaj, Satchidananda Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Swami. This has 120 black and white illustrations, and these books are done so that if you just go through the illustrations and read the captions, you'll get at least 20% of the book. And I'm going to have another in-depth presentation. It said Tuesday evening. What time is that going to be? Tuesday, what time? Do you know? 6:30. Okay, and we can also take orders there for the book because this is our last copy. Would you be willing to go out and give this to Jagat Mohini so she can sell this last copy? So I just wanted to show all of you, we will sell this last copy here, and then we can take orders, or you can just go on Amazon. Okay, what I'm going to be presenting tonight is just an overview. It's just a little taster. On Tuesday, we're going to be singing all the verses, because there's a benediction that if you just sing all the verses sweetly, then you attain the complete perfection of life. Did you give that in Jagat Mohini's hand? Okay. So we're not going to be doing that tonight. We're doing that Tuesday at 6:30. And if you missed that here, we'll be doing that at Bhaktivedanta Manor Friday at 7:30. So we'll be giving the in-depth presentation here at 6:30 on Tuesday, Bhaktivedanta Manor, 7:30 on Friday. So this is just a little taster. All right? Friday evening, yes. Friday evening, thank you. Friday evening, 7:30. And here Tuesday evening, 6:30. We'll be going in depth. We also have on YouTube, and if you go on my website, urmiladevidasi.org, you'll also see some videos of Mana-shiksha going into more depth. Okay? So if you think I'm going too fast and I'm not covering everything deeply enough, it's because I am. All right. So we're going to look here about becoming authentic. This book Mana-shiksha, is about being real, getting rid of the deception and the pretense in our lives. And sometimes we feel like that, right? That others aren't really interacting with us. They're just sort of acting with a facade of us, with a parody of us. And we feel that our relationships aren't on a genuine platform. It's almost like we're relating with others with a huge mitten on. You know? And we wonder, well, how can I find my real self, which would enable me to have authentic relationships with other people and with even the objects in this world. At the same time that we want authenticity, I think we're also a little bit afraid of truth. If we said to all, who here would, you don't have to raise your hand, who here would like to know the full truth about themselves? Yeah, it becomes a little scary, isn't it? Now, this Mana-shiksha is very important for two reasons. First of all, Bhaktivinoda is the father of Srila Prabhupada's guru. So Srila Prabhupada is the founder, Acharya, the founder guru of our Hare Krishna movement. His guru's father, Bhaktivinoda, says that this book, Sri Manah-shiksha, is what's called a padati. Pada means step, hati means progress. That it gives you step-by-step progress as to how to attain the ultimate level of enlightenment, self-realization, and God realization. For those of you more familiar with our tradition, Bhaktivinoda says that Rupa Goswami tells us what to do, and Raghunath Goswami in this book, Mana-shiksha, tells us how to do it. And I know myself, I was looking for quite some time for some manual that would really go deep and tell me what to do on an inner heart level to make progress, and I found it in this book. The other reason that Mana-shiksha is very important in this 50th anniversary year of the Hare Krishna movement, particularly, is because, and those of you who are new to the movement probably are not going to follow what I'm saying, but there was some controversy that people were claiming that Srila Prabhupada's guru and Prabhupada himself were not teaching the system of attaining inner spontaneous love for Krishna in Vrindavan in the proper way. Mana-shiksha establishes that Bhaktisiddhanta's movement and Srila Prabhupada's movement are indeed following the authorized bona fide system given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we have in the book an introductory chapter particularly on this topic. I'll be covering that a little bit more Tuesday night, but I won't be touching on it more today. So Mana-shiksha is divided into several parts where we start from what is our path and then perfection. So it may be interesting that Mana-shiksha starts with attachment. The first verse talks about rati. Does anybody know what rati is? Anybody know what rati is? That's a rat. Rat. I'm sure not pronouncing it properly. Pranaprabhu or someone else will correct my Sanskrit. Rat is a chariot, but rati. It's rati. No, good. Yeah, but that's rati. That's a different. It's a goddess. Yes, rati is a goddess. And who's her husband? Anybody know the husband? Manmad? Kamadev. Yes, Cupid. She's the wife of Cupid. So rati involves great love and attachment. And he also has in the third verse the word saragam. Anybody know what raga means? Not raga like on the sitar. Raga. Means attachment. Means attachment. So generally we think about spiritual life as detachment. Becoming equipoised. Krishna talks a lot in the Bhagavad Gita about being equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, and so forth, being equal to friends, enemies, and the neutral. So why, in this manual for the ultimate enlightenment, are we starting out with be attached? Be attached. Have affection. Have affection. Be attached. I thought that's what we're supposed to give up. This is a different kind. As Krishna nicely explains in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, material life is like the shimmering, upside-down reflection in water of a tree. And spiritual life is the tree. So, in our system of bhakti yoga, we are not exactly advising that one simply become detached. We are advising that one become attached to the real tree. Now, when you become attached to the real tree, you naturally become detached from the shimmering reflection of the tree. If you can have a real apple, you're not going to be enamored by the shimmering reflection of an apple. Right? When you go to grab the shimmering reflection of an apple, you simply get wet. Well, you don't get nothing, you get wet. And when we go for material attachment and material affection, we don't get nothing. That might be all right, but we get suffering. We get disappointment. We get heartbreak, right? As somebody was just telling me this yesterday, I trusted these people more than my own blood family, and when I was in difficulty, they turned against me. So we don't just get nothing. We get great disappointment and heartbreak. So we're saying that the key to getting rid of material attachment is to have spiritual attachment. Now, spiritual attachment for whom? In Mana-shiksha, there's a whole list of for whom we should have spiritual attachment, starting with our teachers. Anyone who teaches us about spiritual life, we should have love and affection for them. Not seeing them just as saintly persons, but seeing them as, like Srila Prabhupada would sign his letters. How would Prabhupada sign his letters? Your ever well-wisher. Seeing that those who help us in spiritual life, whether they initiate us into spiritual life, whether they instruct us into spiritual life, however they help us in spiritual life, that there are genuine well-wishers. Raghunath Das Goswami is trying to lead us from being official, oh, here's a saintly person who is my teacher, all respects to you, teacher, to a genuine mood of friendship. Then he also says that we should have non-sectarian love. And we'll get into this a lot more deeply on Tuesday and Friday. Quite astonishing how Raghunath Das Goswami defines the beginner, intermediate, and advanced spiritual practitioner. And in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary, he talks about how we should have love for genuine, sincere people of any religious tradition, even if they're not mentally absorbed in meditation in Krishna's realm of Goloka, Vrindavan. Great love for our mantras, our prayers, our spiritual songs, the holy name of the Lord, not to take them as a ritual. Now this is again the beginning of the path of enlightenment, not to take them as a ritual. Not to think this is my religion, or this is, this is what I hang out, this is my culture, and so I have this song and we sing, Gloria, Gloria, Namaste, Narasimhaya, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Or those of you who chant the Gayatri mantra, Om Buddha Ba, Buddha Ba, okay. Done my mantras, done my prayers, done my rituals. No, great love, relishing. Relish, attachment, love for those things that are spiritual, and great love for spiritual places. And this doesn't just mean a holy place geographically that you go to in some far-off country like India, but it also means this place, this Hare Krishna temple, where there is Krishna and Radharani, there is Vrindavan. Where there is Mahaprabhu, there is Navadvip. Great love for this place. Not just to come, let me come there and I'll get some spiritual enlightenment and something nice to eat and see my friends. That means to offer some service, maybe to help clean, to help cut up the vegetables, to give something. And also for our spiritual place in our home. I think many of us in our home, we've established a place, right, on a shelf, some piece of furniture, where this is our altar, this is my sacred place in my home. To treat it with affection and with love and attachment. Sometimes when I visit people's homes, they have an altar, but they just use it as a place to offer their food and have God stamp out the karma. Okay, I'm going to offer my food, the official karma stamping out machine. Okay, right? And you see the altar's dusty and it's full of dead flower bits and all this kind of stuff. So love for the places that are sacred, the places that connect us with the divine. So is that enough to start on the path? This is the start of the path. Is that enough? Just that we have love? So many people can say that they have love. Right? I took a friend once for some surgery on an early Sunday morning, and on the television set, they were playing some Christian show, like Sunday, 6 o'clock in the morning. And the minister was there, and they were all holding hands. I love Jesus. Is that enough? Or people come to our temples, I am loving Krishna very much. Is that enough? No. Raghunath Das Goswami says no. He says you also have to make some effort. You have to make some effort. Don't just think it's a matter of luck. Or just a matter of mercy. Well, if Krishna is kind to me, I'll become enlightened. If he's not, I won't. One has to actually make some effort to develop spirituality. Well, is that enough? Love and effort. Or as Srila Prabhupada would say, devotional service. Is that enough to get started on the path? Nope, sorry. Something else. I'm going to keep doing this to you guys. Humility. In Sanskrit, Raghunath Das Goswami says, Saradamban hitva. Always give up pride. So why does one have to give up pride? Because if there's pride, there's a feeling of entitlement. Isn't that a fact? If I'm proud, I have a feeling that I deserve. Correct? Yes? And when I think I deserve, then I do not appreciate what other people do for me because, I deserve it. Yes? Man comes home from work, his wife's cooked him a 40-course meal, cleaned the whole house, wearing beautiful clothes, perfumed, and he says, yeah, you're my wife, you're supposed to do that. That's what happens when you're proud, when you think, I deserve. Have we ever had anyone treat us like that? Huh? Just without any appreciation. Well, you're supposed to do that. I'm supposed to do that? Whatever. Still, I'm voluntarily doing it. Whatever it is. Yes? I give the example all the time. You have 20 pounds, go to the shop, buy something, you find out it's only worth 5 pounds. How do you feel? Not very good, right? 20 pounds, go to the shop, buy something, you find out it's worth 20 pounds. How do you feel? Okay. 20 pounds, go to the shop, buy something, you find that it was worth 100 pounds. How do you feel? Woo! Our feeling of happiness is in direct inverse proportion to our feeling of deservedness. The less we think we deserve something, the more we enjoy it. The more we think we deserve something, the less we enjoy it. So saradamban hipa, always give up pride. Also with pride, you can't even take any instruction. Nobody can tell you anything because you already know everything. All right, so now we're at the starting point. Love for all of these, endeavor, and giving up pride. So are we ready for the path? Are we ready? All right, now I'm going to warn you. Nobody warned me about this when I first came to the Hare Krishna movement. So if I give you this warning and you get up and leave, I'll understand. This stuff is going to go deep, my dear friends. It's really going to go deep in the heart. It's going to root out all the pretentiousness and the deceit to come to what's authentic. It's going to be real. Okay, it's going to be real. And it's going to be a really clear mirror. Okay, it's going to be a little intense. And those of you who get the book, it's not the kind of book you're just going to read in an evening, like a novel. It's going to be the kind of thing you study and you go, oh, okay, yeah. And work on that. And then you go back to it. Right? Are you ready? Are you sure? It's a little heavy. Okay. So one may think that's it. I have love for God. I have love for my prayers in the sacred places. I've got humility. I've got endeavor. And Raghunath Das Goswami says, watch what you talk about. What's your sound? What's your sound? So as I'm sure many of you know, this whole world was created from sound. What was the sound that created the world? Oh, very nice. And you know, even dense material objects, they're really moving, right? They're made up of atoms and are moving. You know that, right? And if there's movement, there must be sound. So everything is sound. And Srila Prabhupada said the whole world is full of Krishna's singing. So we have also created our situation through sound. This particular body that we have in this lifetime, our family, our education, our wealth, our health, and all these things in our life, we've created through sound. Both gross sound and subtle mental sound. Whatever sounds we surround ourselves with, speaking and hearing, will create our future. So no matter how much love and humility and endeavor we have to be careful about our sound. Sound also reveals who we really are. Srila Prabhupada said, a well-dressed fool is unrecognized until he or she speaks. You see this with the politicians, right? They look good, and they open their mouths. I'm sorry if you're attached to any of them, or if there are any politicians in the audience, I apologize. I'm sure there are good politicians also. We reveal who we are by what we speak. Many times you will find in the Hare Krishna movement, people come to a class like this, they're hearing about Krishna, then they go out and talk all rubbish. We reveal who we are by what we say. What we post on social media. Right? If you follow somebody on social media for a while, you get to figure out a lot of what's important to them, don't you? Wow, this person only posts about the economy, isn't it? Right? We reveal our current state of consciousness through sound, and we create our future through sound. And Raghunath Das Goswami uses some very heavy, harsh metaphors here. I had one person come up to me after one of these classes and said, you know, this was a little crude. I said, okay, but it's not my crudeness. This was hundreds of years ago. Raghunath Das Goswami was a little crude. He says that talking about ordinary things in the world is that kind of talk is like a prostitute. Looks pretty, promises you love, and really all she wants is your money. Does the prostitute love her customers? No. In fact, she has contempt for them. And she will take your money, maybe your health, destroy your family, your reputation, your work, everything. She really doesn't have anything to offer. So what is the wealth that the prostitute of ordinary talk takes away from us? This wealth we started with. Our affection for our spiritual teachers, for sacred places, for spiritual sound, for all the other spiritual practitioners. Our humility, it gets stolen away by material sound. Now that doesn't mean you can't say, to your husband or your wife or your friend, hey, did you put petrol in the car this morning? Doesn't mean you can't take care of ordinary business in the world. But we should not be surrounding ourselves with mundane sound. We should be speaking and hearing that which will elevate us. Now, very, very interesting. Raghunath Das Goswami says there's another kind of sound. I mean, we can understand the sound of, like what did this movie star do and who got divorced for the 7th time and stuff like that is going to hamper us spiritually. What to speak of mundane sound like, did you know what nasty thing that person did? And that's pretty clear. But he said there's another kind of sound that's like a tigress. Can you see this clearly? Or should we turn off some of the lights? I turn off some lights, yeah. He said there's another kind of sound that's like a tigress. And this is talking of, surprisingly, salvation. Talking about salvation. Well, that's a lot better than talking about, this movie star's 3rd marriage. Well, why a tigress? And he says a tigress that will eat your very self. So if we're talking about, material world, such a lousy place, can't wait till I can go to the spiritual world. If we're focused on our own salvation, of course, salvation is included in the enlightenment of love of God. It's a side benefit. And you can't really love God without being liberated. But if we focus on our own liberation, we cannot develop love. Because love is about voluntarily, freely, as a liberated person, freely binding yourself to someone. Isn't that a fact? Even the material world, we talk about, we know it's okay love if it's consensual, yes? If people have entered into their loving relationship freely. But what do they freely do? They freely bind themselves to each other. So in our traditional Indian wedding, so one of my granddaughters just got married. That's kind of shocking to have a grandkid get married, by the way. I guess I'm getting old. So in the marriage, they bind the hands of the bride and groom with flowers. And, almost in any marriage, they take their hands, some binding. Those of you who have a life partner, if your partner came to you this evening and said, okay, you're free to go, would you say, oh, that's great? I mean, maybe if you had a terrible relationship. But when there's real love, you want to bind yourself to someone. So we want to bind ourselves to the Lord in love. And therefore, talking about our own personal salvation and our own liberation is like a tigress that eats the self. So how can we conquer the prostitute and the tigress? Raghunath Das Goswami says we need a jewel. So you may be aware that jewels can be very powerful. Many people keep different minerals in the form of jewels for their healing power. And what is this jewel that we have to have? This is one of the oil paintings from our book. As I mentioned, we have 12 original oil paintings. I won't be showing all of them tonight. I will be showing all of them on Tuesday. The jewel of the love between Radha and Krishna, those of you who haven't been here before, on the altar on the right, there is Radha Krishna. The jewel of the love between Radha and Krishna in the topmost kingdom of God, in Goloka Vrindavan. And this mood between Radha and Krishna, indeed between Krishna and all the devotees in Vrindavan, is one of selfless giving. Krishna is giving himself to his devotee is giving himself to him. This is genuine love, where it goes on dynamically, eternally, increasing and increasing in giving and joy and giving and joy. So when we have this jewel, then the prostitute and the tigress are not going to be attractive to us. We will naturally have the power to resist their allure. So we may think that's it. Okay, I have love for my teachers and spiritual things, and I have humility, and I have endeavor, and now I'm surrounded with spiritual sound, right? No more prostitutes and pet tigress. I've got this jewel. I'm done. Many people would think then, well, I'm done. No. The next is what we do. What we do. Not just our sound, but our actions. Now, Raghunath Das Goswami says a very interesting thing in Mana-shiksha. He says, na dharma, na dharma. He said, give up dharma and adharma. So those of you familiar with these Sanskrit terms, dharma means good action, and adharma means evil action. And you can say, well, what else is there? Indeed, in Bhaktivinoda's commentary, he says, doesn't seem to be anything else. There's only good and bad action. Is there anything else? Of course, in Bhagavad Gita, verse 4, chapter 4, text 17, which we have here, Krishna talks about 3 kinds of action: karma, vikarma, and akarma. Karma is like dharma, good action. That's on the basis of I am a very good person. I do the right thing because I am good. Now that doesn't fit so much with love, does it? Right? Right? The man says to his wife, I worked hard today because I am a good husband. You mean you don't love me? I'm a good husband. Then it's really about me, isn't it? Right? All right, I'm sure this doesn't apply to any of you, but some people get really into, I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person. I don't pay my taxes, and I get away with it. I do all kinds of things I'm not supposed to. So not into that either, because whether you think, I'm a very good person, or I'm a bad person, either thing entangles us in the law of karma. Instead, we should be Krishna's person. Akarma, freedom in action, which I like to call the secret agent principle. Where you appear to be working in the world, generally acting as a good person, but actually you're working for Krishna. We'll discuss this much more in depth on Tuesday evening if you come here, or Friday evening if you come to the manor, or both places if you come both places. And Raghunath Das Goswami says not only should we just work for Krishna, just work for spirituality, rather than being a good person or a bad person, but also he says we should make sure that we walk our talk. Now this problem is there in every religion. We have this problem in the Hare Krishna movement. You'll find it in every tradition. People who apparently have some love and attachment for spiritual things, who speak very nicely about spiritual things, but their private life is a little different. And Raghunath Das Goswami says this is like if you have a shining path, but there's thieves, there's highway robbers. I don't think we have do you have very many highway robbers here in London? No? So any of you have been to South Africa? So in South Africa they say, be careful at the robots. At the robots. It's really puzzling over that one. Do you have any idea what the robots are? Anybody have a clue? Well, you're from South Africa, but somebody who's not from there, anybody have any idea what those robots might be? They're the traffic lights. Because there's carjackings. In fact, one friend of mine, her son was killed at a traffic light. You know, they took his car and they shot him. So the highway robbers, these highway robbers, they're on this shining path of bhakti. So you have this jewel of love for Krishna in the spiritual world. You're surrounding yourself with spiritual sound. You have love for your teachers and holy places and humility and endeavor. But you may still be messed up by these thieves. They're lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and madness. And they have ropes woven out of wicked deeds. So these are the actions that are the antithesis of what we speak about. The actions that are opposed to our own ideals. We all know what those are, right? No, I'm not going to eat that. I'm not going to look at that. I'm not going to say that. Right? Arjuna talked about this in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, why do we seem to be forced to do things against our will, that are against our ideals? And here's the answer. Lust and his friends, they have these ropes of wicked deeds, and we are bound around the neck like a dog on a leash. And lust drags us around, anger drags us around, greed drags us around. Watch this, do this, say this. And we go, yes, master. Why did I do that? Why did I watch that? Why did I say that? And there's this disconnect. So there was a disconnect between our heart and our speech, right? And here we have a disconnect between our heart, our speech, and our actions. I once overheard a conversation between two friends. One of them says, well, my heart is always at the temple. He says, what about the rest of your body? So how are we going to deal with this problem? Raghunath Das Goswami says, remember the cheating crane. So the crane stands on one leg like a yogic posture and looks to be deep in meditation until along comes a fish. And then again back to meditation. So this, of course, is hypocrisy. Right? We are saying one thing and doing something else. So there was a great wizard in Krishna's time who was a shapeshifter. He took the form of a crane and Krishna killed him. So Raghunath Das Goswami says, call out for help from the devotees of the killer of the crane of hypocrisy. They are the protectors on the path of bhakti. This is another one of our oil paintings. These are the police officers on the path, and if one calls to them, they will save you. And on Tuesday and on Friday, we'll talk more about exactly how they save us. How does that work? How does it work that we call out to them and they save us? And if you saw these guys, you'd probably run away, right? What do you say? Pretty scary guys? So indeed, as soon as they come, then Lust and his friends run away, and the ropes are released from our neck. So now many, many people will say, at this point, we're at the end of the spiritual path. Now we're done. Now we're definitely done. We have some affection and love for our gurus, for holy places, for our mantras. We have humility. We have endeavor. Our sound is spiritual, and all of our actions are spiritual. If you looked at our lives, you'd say, wow, this is a really spiritual person, and you'd be right, frankly. And we say, that's it. That's all you have to do. Raghunath Das Goswami says, something else. He says, all right, when you've gotten rid of these highway robbers and the ropes around your neck, you've gotten rid of cheating others, hypocrisy with others, but what about hypocrisy about yourself? This, my friends, is so subtle. Most of us don't really hear what we're saying. Most of us aren't really aware of what we're doing. What to speak of being aware of our motives? And Bhaktivinoda analyzes a number of these situations. He says, just like if you're engaged in spiritual activities, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, but you're just thinking about Hare Krishna, how much money do I have in the bank? Hare Krishna, when am I going to get that new job? Hare Krishna, that's a nice looking lady that just went by. Or indeed preaching in the name of preaching just to attract the opposite sex. Now Raghunath Das Goswami says, you'll notice there's somebody up there. Do you notice there's some animal up there? You notice that there's a donkey, and the donkey's urinating on their head. And Raghunath Das Goswami says, if externally you've killed lust, anger, greed, and his friends, but your motives for your spiritual activities are not right, then you're not really getting clean. He said you're actually bathing in donkey urine. You may think, I'm getting clean by my spiritual activities, but he says, look up and see what your shower head is. Is it the blank of a blank? Now, how do you know you're bathing in urine from the rear end of a donkey? Because it burns. It burns. So you're ostensibly doing spiritual activities, but inside you're not happy. It particularly manifests when you see someone who's genuinely more advanced in spiritual life than you, and you go, why not me? It's basically doing the right thing, but for the wrong reason, and not being aware that you're doing it for the wrong reason. Not being in tune with one's motives. Convincing oneself that one's actions are really spiritual when they're not. The cure is to bathe instead in an ocean of love. To really become aware of one's inner drivers, one's inner motives. And genuinely do one's spiritual activities for the purpose of giving pleasure to Gandharva, the artistic singer, and Giridhari, the lifter of the mountain. This is our oil painting for this verse. He says, to bathe in the ocean of love at the feet of Gandharva and Giridhari. To make a decision, whatever I do in spiritual life, it's going to be only for the purpose of making Krishna smile. It's not going to be for the purpose of getting money or getting the appreciation of the opposite sex or getting some status or getting some opportunity. It's only going to be for that. At this point, the spiritual practitioner has a jewel of love, the protectors of the devotees of the killer of the crane of hypocrisy. And they're swimming in an ocean of love. They're surrounded with spiritual love. So surely this must be the end of the path. Surely this must be all one has to do. One more. So this person's swimming in spiritual love, holding this spiritual jewel, surrounded with spiritual sound with so much affection. They may feel, there's a party going on in my heart. And Raghunath Das Goswami says, you better look at what's being served at that party. He says, what's on the menu is a dead dog. hope none of you eat dead dogs. Some people do, I'm sure. I'm sure you can buy them in London. Some people eat them as food. Is it a very nice food? Was it very nice food? No, not very healthy. This dead dog is fame and honor. Now, at this point in the path, what do you think a person wants to be honored for? For themselves, but what part of themselves? How advanced they are. How spiritual they are. Because they are very spiritual at this point on the path. Remember, this is a step-by-step path. They are very advanced at this point. Now, the desire for this fame is compared to a wild, disloyal woman. Why disloyal? Because when you want fame and honor, you don't hang around when somebody's criticizing you. Right? You only stay in a place where people are praising you. As soon as they have something negative to say, you're out of there. Therefore, disloyal. And you see in the background these two nice ladies. Raghunath Das Goswami uses the word sadhu prema, not prema, which is our general term for spiritual love, but prema, feminine. He says the pure ladies of spiritual love will not enter the heart as long as dog meat is being served and this disloyal lady is dancing around. And Bhaktivinoda, in his song, the Bengali song on this verse, he said this lady has a boyfriend. His name is Deceit. We have all the masks. Because when one wants to be honored, one will not be honest. Isn't that a fact? If I want people to honor me, I will not be honest. And therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says this desire for honor, we have the trophies here at the root, it is the root of all pretense. And if one has gotten to this point but doesn't take out this desire to be honored, then everything else will come back. The donkey urine, the thieves, the highwaymen, the tigress, the prostitute, they'll all come back. One has to eventually come to this point where this desire to be honored as a great saintly person is gone. How can we deal with this? Raghunath Das Goswami says, serve the army generals in the Lord's army. The army generals. They can do what we cannot do for ourselves. Why the generals? Because at this point, we want to be honored as a general. We want people to see how saintly they are. They know all of the scriptures. They are kind. They are charitable. They are pure. They are detached. Just see how saintly they are. Instead, serve the actual saints. Be happy to be a humble servant of the saints. And by getting that happiness of being a humble servant of the saints, one will lose the desire to be honored as a saint oneself. And then the chaste ladies of love will enter the heart. This is another one of our paintings. This seems like it's being stretched on the screen. I don't know, somehow it's stretching it. The chaste ladies of love will enter the heart. Wouldn't it be nice to have these ladies in our heart instead of that unchaste lady and her dog? So now we are finished with the purification and the rooting out of deceit. Now, fully authentic as a humble soul, Raghunath Das Goswami takes us on the steps in perfection. Now, what's really, really nice about this Mana-shiksha, although it's a step-by-step manual for those people who are very spiritually serious, everything in the book can be applied even if you've only come to the Hare Krishna movement today. And we'll be going over that again more in depth on Tuesday and Friday. But at this point, all pride is gone, and with deep humility, one says to the Lord, "Oh, I am a wretched cheater. I'm not a saint. I'm not in anything. All pretense gone. My Lord, my heart is so dirty, but you can grow a garden in there, in the dirt of my heart. By your mercy, you can grow a garden. You can purify me. You can fill me with love. I'm swimming in an ocean of love with a jewel of love, both of which are external. You can make it internal. You can give me glowing nectar to drink and put me under the care of your spiritual energy." Then this glowing nectar we drink differentiates into 5 nectars of every day engaging in worship, glorification, meditation, hearing divine stories, and offering our respects. Now, in the book itself, in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary, he goes into great depth, particularly about meditation, quoting Jiva Goswami. Then we are in the realm of complete perfection. This is one of our paintings from the book. This is Nandagram, from a description in Nanda Vrindavan Shambhu of Kavi Karnapur. And yeah, it is a little stretch, but I think you can get some idea. And this is another one of our paintings. The beginning of real love for God. Here we have the chief associates in each of the different mellows of love. And Raghunath Das Goswami ends by saying, anyone who sings these verses, which we'll be doing on Tuesday here and on Friday at the Manor, anyone who sings these verses in a sweet voice, trying to understand their meanings completely, will certainly enter into the spiritual world and receive the ultimate jewel of love of God. So this is Raghunath Das Goswami's Mana-shiksha. Have we sold out all the books now? Yes. We've sold out everything, okay. If you like, you can place orders and we can have them brought to you, or you can go on Amazon and buy them there. I think we're going to have 3 or 4 at the Manor on Friday. We really wasn't anticipating this much of a demand. But I want to thank you very much. So it's pretty much time for our feast. Does anyone have any questions that can take a quick answer? People say I have a fast question. I don't care how fast the question is, but if it's a question that has a simple answer.
It's not a question, but for those that actually bought the books today, they can have personally signed by the Grace of God.
Yes, I'm happy to sign the book for you if you got them today. Does anyone have a question or comment or anything they'd like to add? Yes?
You mentioned in the beginning about truth.
Truth, yes.
And this truth is a very, very difficult thing for people to understand.
True. I'm repeating for the people on the internet. Truth is a very difficult thing for people to understand, yes.
And also, a lot of people claim that what they're doing, what they are saying is the truth, but it is not the fact. And you can see the state of the whole country, how it's suffering.
Yes, you're saying many people claim that what they're doing is truth, but it's not a fact.
About the truth and letter, I wrote about that this culture should realize this. You know Mahatma Gandhi, who insisted on satyagraha.
Yes, on the truth, yes.
He always carried on throughout his life. He insisted for the truth. And that actually gives us the birthright to understand, opens up our freedom.
To get to real truth, you have to go deep into sound, into action, into motive, and into ultimate desire. And root out everything that's pretentious. Otherwise, any talk we have about truth and authenticity, when we're pretentious to others and to ourselves on a deep level, is not going to be very effective. Thank you so much. Yes? How do you root out that ultimate desire? That ultimate desire, again, is to be famous and honored, and particularly to be famous and honored as a saintly person, by getting real affection and service for those who are actual saints.
Do you mean by this action
It would be the joy of being in a humble position with a real saint is so great that immediately one doesn't want to be honored. One wants that actual saint to be honored. One wants to give that honor to the real saint. One willingly gives that gift of, oh, I want to be honored as a saint. And one takes that gift and says, I give it to you, the real saint. Let all the honor go to you who deserve it. And of course, that real saint is also saying, I give that honor. And each gives it ultimately to Krishna. And then Krishna turns around and gives it to all of his devotees. And the pleasure, Lord Chaitanya talked about this, amanina manidena, the pleasure of taking the honor that we want for ourselves and giving it away to a saint who gives it away to God who gives it away. And if everyone's giving it away, then everyone gets it, by the way, which is rather interesting. But the pleasure of giving is so much greater than the pleasure of taking. We all know that. We all know if you buy a gift for somebody, you can get so much more pleasure out of seeing that person with the gift than you could have by spending that money on yourself. We've all experienced that. It's sort of mysterious. How does that work? How does that work, you know? Why should seeing you as something nice give me more pleasure than my having it? But it actually works that way. So when I practice giving honor, and any honor that's given to me, I immediately take it and give it. Take it and give it. It becomes such a beautiful thing and so satisfying that you no longer want to keep any honor for yourself. And naturally, Krishna will honor you. It's not that you'll lack any honor. But you won't want to keep it. You'll keep giving it. And that's the only way to root it out. Just trying to destroy the desire is not possible. It won't work. Raghunath Das Goswami doesn't say make the heart empty. He doesn't say just kick out the dead dog and the lady and her boyfriend and have an empty heart. He says no, sadhu prema. Invite the ladies of love into the heart. And what is love? Love is giving to others. Just like we saw this dance, right? So there was the mother of the dancer. Are they still here? Yes? So the mother was glorifying her daughter. Did you all notice how much she was glorifying her daughter? But what did you say? This is the most pure way of dancing? Yes, something like that? My daughter is doing the most pure dancing possible. Wasn't that sweet? Isn't that sweet? That's natural. The mother didn't want us to honor her, she wanted us to honor her daughter. And she was happy with her daughter being honored. Do you follow? That's how we're actually designed spiritually. That's what we are. We are all designed to gain happiness by bringing happiness to others. That is the essential fiber of who we are, because that is what God is. Krishna's happiness is in giving happiness to others. He's doing it constantly. He even gives happiness to those who are rebellious against him. How amazing. And as we are part of him, that is the basic way in which we become happy. And if everyone is doing that, then everybody is very happy. And that is the whole nature of the spiritual world. So we get rid of this desire by giving and giving and giving. Is that all right? I will say that it's very hard to do that in the beginning. So therefore that in Mana-shiksha, that is verse 7. It is not verse 1. Can you jump to verse 7? Maybe. But as a padati, step by step, generally you will not be able to do verse 7 until you've done the previous 6 verses. Generally. If one's following spiritual life just ritualistically, if one's full of pride, if one's still thinking, I'm a good person or I'm a bad person, if one's in that mood, you won't be able to get down there and see what the root is. You won't even be able to perceive it. Is that okay? That was a lovely question. Anybody else?
Excuse me.
Yes.
I would like to know where you found. I mean, what temple do you?
Oh, well, I really spend most of my time traveling. Right now I have a room in Hawaii at my son's house there, so that's my home. It's where in Hawaii. That's where I keep my books. So wherever my books are, that's my home. It's just a room. I don't have a house, but I spend most of my time traveling. And I was born and raised in New York City, so London feels very nice to me. London is almost as nice as New York. Oh, it's much better than New York. So, when I'm here, it is, something like New York. But I was born and raised in New York. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I joined the Hare Krishna movement in Chicago. And 43 years ago, 2 days ago.
I know the temple.
That wasn't the first time I contacted the Hare Krishna movement. That was when I said, okay, I'm doing this. I'm going to do it for real and not leave. Yes?
What was you before?
What was I before? A frog? I don't know. What were you asking? What exactly are you asking? Oh, I was really young. I was really young. I moved in the temple about a month after my 18th birthday, so I didn't have time to be anything. I mean, I had one, at that time I had done 1 year of undergraduate studies. And when I was in secondary school, I was we had that slide with the trophies. I had a whole bunch of trophies for debate and public speaking. Most of my friends became lawyers, or what do you call them here, solicitors? That would mean something quite different in America, but anyway. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, I hadn't had time to really become something in the world. Whatever I've become in ISKCON, not before ISKCON. Is that all right? Okay. If you want to, on my blog, which is urmiladasi.com, on urmiladasi.com, if you go to unpublished essays, I've got a 3,000-word essay about how I joined the Hare Krishna movement. So you can read that there. I'm so happy I published that, whenever people ask me, I just say, go there and read it, Did you have a question?
Yeah. How can you not get overwhelmed by this idea of perfection? Because it's a bit scary.
Oh, it is scary. And I'm not going to lie to you that it's not scary. It is scary. We're so attached to our pretense. We are. We're attached to our masks and our pretense. We're attached to our masters of lust and his friends dragging us around. How do you get over the fear? Generally, gradually. Could give it up all at once, but that's unusual. Could. It's possible. But generally, gradually. You ever gone ice skating? Yeah. Have you ever gone ice skating on a real lake? Not like on an ice skating rink? No? Anybody here ever ice skate on a real lake? A few of you. So besides living in New York, I also lived in New Jersey and I lived across the street from a lake. We'd go ice skating there in the winter. So, unlike a skating rink where they, it's all artificial and they say, okay, now it's safe. So with a lake, how do you know it's safe? How do you know? So what you do is you go to the edge and you kind of walk on the edge and see whether or not you fall in. Seriously. You take a rock and you kind of throw it. You take another rock and throw it. And then if that's okay, then you go a little bit on the lake. And you throw another rock, go a little bit further. Then after a while, you start skating all over the lake. So it's like that in spiritual life. You let go of some of the pretentiousness and deceit. You get that jewel. You let go of a little bit more. You get the protectors. You let go of a little bit more. And as you let go of a little bit more fear and a little bit more pretense, and as you become more and more authentic, you go, this is nice. This is nice. And the only thing I'm losing is my suffering and my illusion. All I'm losing are my problems. And why should I be afraid of losing my problems? But generally that faith, that courage, the opposite of fear is courage and peace, comes step by step through direct experience. So Krishna says in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right? No, 9th chapter, sorry. Rajavidya Rajaguyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmam Susukam Kartamaviyam. Rajavidya, so the king of all knowledge. Rajaguyam, it's very secret. Pavitram, it's very purifying. Pratyaksha, it's directly experienced. Dharmam, it's truth, it's right, it's authentic. Susukam, it makes you very happy. So that's how you do it. You make one step. Take a step. Maybe I'm going to have some affection for chanting. Maybe I'm going to really get some affection for a sacred place. Maybe I'm going to be a little humble. Maybe I'll stop defending my false ego all the time. You take a little step and you go, wow. And that gives you the faith to take another step. And at a certain point you say, okay, Lord, I'm ready to skate all over the lake. Thank you very much. Raghunath Das Goswami ki jai. Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premananda.